Yo, what's going on, family? That's right, the Boxing Source here checking in. And you know what? I've got a great guest here with me. I mean, he has an upcoming fight here that's going to be part of OTX 15. That's right, OTX 15. That's on July 25th in Atlanta, Georgia. He's going up against Michael Dasmarinas. Of course, we've had him on here. That's right. The hunt continues. It's the Wolf, Elijah Pierce, man. What's going on?
I'm doing well, man. Just winding down. I'm here in Oklahoma City, finishing camp with my father. Um, we're ready to go. It's another day at the office for me. Das Marinas. He's just another stepping stool in the way, in the path of greatness. And I'm looking forward to putting on the show. Looking forward to finally unveiling some of the things I've been dying to for the last couple fights. But due to the weight cuts that I was dealing with, it was kind of making it a lot more troublesome. So now that I went up, I don't think that's going to be an issue anymore. My weight's looking pretty good as of right now. And like I said, I'm just ready, man. I mean, I'm excited. I'm genuinely excited for this one. I think this will be probably my breakout performance that I think that people are needing to see from me.
Word for sure. I mean, like we had in our previous conversations, talking about those last couple of fights that you had there, they were around like 122 pounds, but that weight cut was crazy. It was absolutely crazy to get to down to 122. So here you're making that decision to fight at 126 pounds, featherweight division. They got you there, currently ranked number 4 in the WBA. So you're looking at Nick Ball, who's the current champion out there, but just going out here against Michael Dasmarinas and showing people what's going to be happening there in the featherweight division. I know you're eager to, just get it going here for this one.
No, for sure. I mean, Das Marinas, he's another veteran. He's fought some very credible guys. He's fought in a way as well. So, I know that'll be a big I guess you could say, you know, um, just a good kind of sign as well, because everybody's gonna always attribute Inoue's performance against him. Is that's going to be like some, someone that people are going to compare me to it. So obviously I do the same thing, and I take care of business. It'll be you know it'll be what it's going to be, and then hopefully that'll somewhat get entice people even more to want to see me versus him, because I definitely want that fight as well. Though my top three fights that I want right now are Fulton, Nick Ball, and Inoue.
Word. And like I said, man, you got there Nick Ball in that WBA as a WBA champ. There, floating around there, float with the WBC and whatnot. There, and of course, anyway, who's the undisputed champion there at super bantamweight. Just waiting to see when he's coming up to 126, and you ready for him when he comes up to 126. Now, you mentioned there you're over in like around the OKC area. That's like where you from and everything like that. You're out there with the family, and in our past conversations, you talked about that unit that you had there, with your dad, and being there with you here with your journey here for your pro career. So, like, how is it like working there back home?
I mean, it's kind of customary. I mean, I do it just about every camp. I always make sure to get some time in with them. Even if it's not like super super long, depending on the opponent or whatever. Because me and my dad, obviously, like he's my foundation. So, I've worked with him my entire life. So it's not like it just needs to be so much emphasis put in on me unless we're dealing with a top tier opponent. Now, I mean, even with Das Marina, even though he's a veteran, he's pretty. I mean, I'm not gonna say like he's like one trick pony or whatever, nothing like that. But he's not nothing that I've seen before. He's pretty basic. Pretty. So
Yeah,
yeah,
just
pretty pretty standard.
straightforward and all that. Yeah, yeah, and I looked him up as far as like what he's been doing recently. There, being in the ring and things like that. Like he had a couple fights last year and had one fight this year. And then you know, I also like looked up you know, he said like he had a nickname there, but no, the nickname he got is crazy. So now you got to get him just for having that nickname, man, because ain't no way, you know, if I was like, you know, commentating or whatever it is, ain't no way I was gonna say that name, man. I ain't saying that nickname. Ain't no way I'm doing that for another dude. That ain't happening. Oh no, no. So you got to get him off. You got to get him off that one for real though. But
Oh yeah, I mean, as you know, I always got something cooking for the weigh-in, so stay tuned for that.
word, no doubt. Now, I know, you know, of course, there was, you know, one of your previous fights there. Of course, your last fight there you had against Jose San Martin. There you're able to, you know, get pretty much like a close to shutout victory there against San Martin. And of course, like, you know, you had, you know, in one instance there with the walkouts, you had your daughter there, you know, for your walkout, man. So how was that experience having your daughter walk you out there to the ring?
Oh, I mean, it was great. I mean, my daughter, she's, I'm proud of her. She's everything. Like I said, she was my firstborn. So to see her grow and to see her, she loves her dad. So ultimately, just having her there, I was always a motivator. And just stay tuned. We got some big things working for this walkout. So I think the fans are definitely gonna enjoy it. I think this will be my biggest and best to date. So I don't want to spill the beans too much, but
Word.
it's gonna be a show all through and through. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm super excited.
Exactly. That's what we got here coming up for OTX 15. Of course, that's going to be Friday, July 25th here in Atlanta, Georgia. It's going to be live on the zone. So people that are outside the Atlanta area, things like that, they'll be able to see this live on the zone, headlining that OTX 15 there against Michael Dasmarinas. You know, I know that you know had your you know, three fighters that you were talking about and things like that. There, of course, you know, we had the whole thing in the past about talking about Stephen Fulton and all of that. But you know, competing there within the WBA rankings at number 4, at least you know currently right now, you have Nick Ball there, and you know some you know we're trying to link him up with Inoue. They're 126, but you know we got Inoue there preoccupied. So it's like, yo, once you handle business, then we got to get a couple phone calls to the WBA and say, hey, listen, I want that shot at Nick Ball for that WBA featherweight title, man. So I'll be like, yo, what's up? I'll travel to UK. I don't care where it's at. I'm gonna travel out there and get it and make it happen.
No doubt. I mean, really, I mean, any of the champions for real. I mean, I'm really not. I mean, those are just the ones that I want the most. But really, I'm open to any and all challengers, any and all comers. Whether I get because I believe this fight, I may be fighting for a WBO title. So against Dasmarina. So if that's the case, I haven't got official word yet on what title and all that stuff. But if that comes into fruition, then I'm sure I'll be ranked top 5 in the WBO as well. So whether it's Espinoza or whoever it is, I mean, like I said, I'm just ready for my shot, man. Like I will be champion. I mean, it's just a matter of time.
Time.
Whether I gotta now, I would say probably Espinoza is the most formidable out of all the champions, I believe, at 26. But even if it's him, I'll beat him too.
No doubt. I mean, and the thing here with this upcoming bout here in a couple of weeks, yo, I was saying there that you're eager for this because we hadn't seen you for you know about a year. You know what I mean? So because
Yeah,
just you know after you know having a whole thing with those couple of fights last year, and like you said, getting down and wait for that 122, and now you know getting acclimated there for 126, and you know trying to see about you know securing a fight and getting a fight and whatnot. You know now you got this opportunity here, and yeah, if we work this thing out, I don't know, man. I might have to hit up the WBO president about that belt there that can be put on the line there for July 25th, so we could you know get you working there in the rankings as well. But you know, just to have you know that thing there to get in the ring and you know not just prepare, and you know how it is sometimes when you could prepare for things or you know travel or train, but not necessarily have a fight lined up. It just you know makes you
right,
a little bit discouraged. You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
So finally having this you know opportunity here on July 25th, and being able to showcase your skills now in the featherweight division. Now you can say, hey, you know what? Now I can get this opportunity at featherweight that I wasn't able to particularly get at super bantamweight. You feel me?
That's it. Yeah, I mean, man, like I said, the whole thing for me is like I don't even really plan to be at featherweight a long time. You know, I want to give me a belt. Like I said, it's been long awaited. It's time. I've been should have fought for a title a long time ago, but as I've always said, these guys are they ducking me. And like I said, people can try to, they can try to bullshit and try to lie and do all that and talk. They talk about how I'm not this or I'm not that. But the facts remain is that I'm a credible fighter. I've been a credible fighter. I'm a tough fight for anybody in any division. And and all will be shown improvement in due time. Um, so my goal is to, like I said, give me a belt at 26, and then once I get a belt at 26, then I'll go up to 130, and then I'll continue. And I think 30 is when I'll settle, and I'll try to probably go for undisputed at 130. But
Mm,
but for sure, I think that'll be like my absolute best, where I'll be in peak performance. But even at, like I said, at 26, it's time, man. They can't duck me forever.
word. Like you said, man, it's long overdue, long overdue. Because 22, man, it was absolutely crazy. Because you were out there, you were like I would say, like number 5 in the rankings, like number 6 in the rankings, and you trying to go after those
I
guys
was
at like
actually I was
22 and
actually as
22.
high as number 3. I was
Or
number
number
3
3, yeah.
number 3 in the WBA, number 4 in the WBO, number 6 in the IBF, and number 10 in the no, excuse me, I was number 10 in the IBF and number 6 in the WBO. So I was actually like damn near right there and all the tanking bodies at 22. But there was just such a long line for Inoue that, like I said, by the time that it came around for me to fight him, before Cardinals, it took too long. I couldn't wait no more. I would try my best, but I couldn't do it. And like I said, and it was proven in that same San Martin fight. That San Martin fight was very, that was a very hard fight for me, just based off the weight cut alone. The fight itself wasn't difficult. I mean, just
Mhm.
seeing what I was able to do under the circumstances I was under, and still win a shutout victory like that. But but like I said, I have no doubt that me being at 26 will definitely supplement that, and I'll be a lot better, feel a lot stronger, and I'll be able to showcase even that much more of my ability. And then once I continue to elevate and grow, and then I go to 30, and then like I said, I believe I'll be at peak performance then. So I mean, the best is yet to come, bro. I'm just being patient and continuing to work hard. And things are only looking up for me. Things are only getting better. Things are only growing. I'm more and more focused than I've ever been. And I see the light. I see a light at the end of the tunnel. So right now, it's just about me staying focused, staying on my grind, and keeping faith in God, and everything will piece itself together in due time.
Yeah, everything will come to fruition on that, man. Big ups to your brother Sean Terrence here. He says like he's gonna be catching a replay. He said he can't wait to see your next fight there. Of course, he got the thing there with the wolf. He said, "Yeah, you up next for real." You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
Yeah, my guy Sean, man. He's a big supporter, a huge supporter. You know what I'm saying? He's definitely been watching, and yeah, man. Like I said, just stay tuned, bro. You already know I'm coming. I'm hunting heads. All these dudes. Like I said, they won't beat me. And
yeah, for
it's
sure,
not gonna
man.
happen.
Yeah, man. Like you say, man, the hunt continues. The hunt continues, and it's all about getting these guys here first in 126, and then like you said there earlier is going up to 130. But like going back to your last fight, like you were saying there, being able to get the weight down and that type of stuff. I mean, that's a lot of things that's something that a lot of fans don't realize is that once you get to a certain point in your professional career, it gets more and more difficult to get down to the weight that you usually compete in. So
Right.
it's like if you have this opportunity that's still there at 122 pounds, and you might like say for example, you might not have an opportunity at 126 yet. So you're like, hey, I haven't been active or I'm gonna try to stay active. So here I got this fight at 122 pounds. So I'm gonna still like work, but I'm gonna have to work extra hard in order to make that 122 so I can get this fight. You know what I mean?
For
So
sure.
so it's like a lot of fight fans may not realize that is that sometimes opportunities aren't there in the weight class that you want to be at the time or be comfortable at the time. So you might have to have one more fight at where you was at and then try to make it down there. Like I mean, they had a what is it like they talk about the story about like what Bruce Ennis that was fighting for that unified title. But him, still trying to get down to 147 once again. He's like, yo, it's very difficult at this point. So he's like, yo, I'm moving up after this. You feel me? So that's the thing about it. Is like a lot of these fighters, try to get down to these weights in order to compete. But once it gets tougher and tougher, it's like, nah, I got to be comfortable so that I'm performing at my optimal level at the weight class I'm going to be at. You know what I mean? So you going up to 126 here for this fight against Michael Dasmarinas, there you'll be able to say, hey, you know what? I could do this here 126. I'm comfortable. Now I could compete there 126, going after those belts at 126, and then after I get them belts, then I'll go up to 130. You feel me?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds simple as that, man. I've as many times that we've interviewed together, my story has never changed. My intent has never changed. It's been the same. It's been the same shit, different toilet. I want all these guys. You know, they're not willing to face me without being forced to face me, and and this it makes sense. I'm a threat, and like I said, they don't got to say it out loud or publicly. People should be smart enough to see it. I'm a threat. What I'm saying, and it will continue to be seen. Nobody's beating me in the last 11 fights. I ain't lost in about 6 years. What I'm saying? So people can try to look at the little asterisks on my career based off of the personal problems I went through. But as in life, what I'm saying, people go through things and people have to learn and grow and overcome. So which I
Mm-hmm.
have done time and time again. So that now that I'm a lot older, I'm a lot more seasoned, I'm a lot more intelligent. You know, this the sky is the limit. All I got to do is continue, like I said, to persevere and walk my path, and all will come to me. I'm not even really as concerned as I used to be because I see it. I see everything, and I'm just waiting, man. Like I said, after Das Marina, after I take care of him, I'm gonna get him out of there in devastating fashion. And once I do that, then on to the next, and then on to the next after that, and then where hopefully, like I said, this world title will present itself, because I mean it should have a long time ago, but I understand that politics have played a bigger part in this thing than I would have liked to, but that's the game.
Very, yeah, like you say, it's the game, and just going through what you have went through over those past couple of years or so. But like you said, like people like have problems there. It's just how you're able to deal with them and how you're able to handle yourself. That kind of like shows like your resiliency and things like that when those problems pose themselves to you. So you be able to get
Absolutely.
through that, and like I said, have clarity and all that type of stuff. And now you're ready to go here at 126. Now, in your last conversation, you was out there in Japan, getting work in Japan and things like that. Like you had that whole experience out there, man. And as I said, like a couple of weeks after, winding down, like how was it to get that work out there? Or working with a lot of the Japanese fighters there. Some of the world champions, top contenders, and things like that. So how was that work?
Oh man, it was great. I mean, honestly, the whole experience was life changing for me. Because I had been sacrificing a lot of the opportunities like that of that nature based off of personal stuff. Relationships and whatnot. So once I kind of changed the priority of what I should be focused on, they started to come back around, and I took full advantage of them. And and it was a blessing, man. Like literally being out there, seeing how endearing the fans were to boxers, and just like I said, getting to work, and honestly putting work on them guys. Showing out in the gym out there. I made a lot of fans in the gym, and and outside the gym. So it was amazing. And then to come back, and also to go out there and get paid to be out there as well. That was a
Mhm.
blessing. But um, then to come back to the States, and then literally I was only home for a week. I was chilling with my kids, spending time with my kids. And then I got another opportunity to go help Floyd Schofield with his fight versus Tevin Farmer.
Mhm.
And then I was the chief sparring partner for that fight. And then I helped him, and you seen what he done, and I was very proud of him on how he executed his game plan. And I feel like I was very proud that I was able to be helpful, in that camp, and give him the looks needed. And they gave me a lot of kudos for that. So like I said, Schofield's and them, they like family to me. We all grew up together or whatever. I've been knowing Floyd since he was like 8 years old, and I was about 14, 15. So
Mhm.
it was just cool to be a part of that, and see his growth. And like I said, man. So I was already on the grind before my training camp even started for
Yeah.
this fight. So
Yeah.
I've been grinding. So now that I'm in my own camp, I'm just that much more in shape, that much more focused, and just ready to once again cement myself and show people that I am who I say I am, and continue to solidify everything I've been saying beforehand.
Yeah, that's the big part about it is that you're out there in these camps and in these gyms. You're able to be in shape and stay in shape so that once you say what you got to fight. Hey, you know what? I don't have to have a camp or start my camp to try to do things in order to get down and weight. Like say for example, if you had to go from what I would say 134 or something like that, or maybe a little bit above that, and then have like an 8 week camp. You don't have to spend so many weeks in order to get down to close to the weight that you need to be in order to get prepared for the fight. You're already around that. So now all you got to do is just work on the skills and sharpness and making sure you're staying sharp and all that type of stuff, so that once you get there to the fight, man, it's smooth sailing. You feel me?
Right, exactly. So yeah, so I mean, pretty much that's majority of how it's been for me this camp. Like I said, I had already been getting a bunch of great sparring, and so now I just pretty much just been, the last step for me was to come back home to my hometown, and work on my dad, and kind of sharpen up on the game plan of what we're gonna do to this guy, uh, July 25th. And it's on me to execute. And I believe that the game plan that we got is pretty solid, and I'm sure that I'll get the knockout, and I'll get the W once again. And like I said, on to the next.
Word, no doubt. Like I said, man, you got to get him off that nickname alone. I mean, when I saw that, I was like, come on, man, y'all got to be crazy with that. So you got to get him off of that one. And of course, being part of this car here for OTX 15, you got your stablemates, basically there. You got another, what is it, another what they say, Georgia boy there with Hayden Brady Jr. on the car. You got O'Shea Jones on the card. You got like what Lugo brothers on the card. So it's a packed card there for OTX 15, and you're there headlining for this one, man. What is it? What up, Captain and DGAF, man? Yeah, yeah. What's up? What's good with you, man? We here with the Wolf, Elijah Pierce, man. Like I said, you're there. What is this gonna be like your fourth consecutive fight there in Atlanta? So you kind of like building that base there in Atlanta, Georgia. Having those fights and just take care of business and making sure that like we have what is it, OTX Boxing. Of course, they're on Instagram. They be posting all them highlights of you there, on
Yeah.
Instagram, things like that too.
I mean,
So
it's pretty safe to say at this point, I am the premier fighter of Overtime. I am the head. I'm the head honcho. The top fighter there. You know, um, obviously, uh, 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 um, dissect it between me and the women. Like I said, O'Shea Jones. She's I believe the first female world champion. So all credit to her. As well, and then Tiara Brown as well. But on the guys regard, I'm the top guy. So it's an honor, man, and I'm gonna continue to show why. I had already kind of called it from the gate that I knew I would be, because a lot of people have doubted me, a lot of people underestimated me. Because like I said, because of the two losses I had previously, but I've always said that doesn't define me. And obviously the 11 fights I've had in a row, you know, speaks volumes to that. Like I said,
Mhm.
I ain't lost in 6 years. So and I damn sure don't plan on losing again. So it's time, man. Like, once again, it's time for me to show and prove. It's time for me to let folks know and wake them up.
Yeah, exactly. Wake them up and let them know that the wolf is on the hunt. That's what it is, man. The wolf is on the hunt with that. So, oh man, I ain't even see the thing there with the, what was that, the chain with the wolf on it?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure. Come on now. I
yeah.
got the paw my paw ring too.
Oh, word, word, word. That's what's up. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No doubt, no doubt, man. So yeah, you got all the gear that you need wear with that, man. Yeah, he said, yeah, it's tough. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Shout out to the captain, man. He said, yeah, that's real tough right there. You feel me? You know what I mean? So you got all of that going on, going down. So we
Yes,
gotta
sir.
we gotta
Shout out Crescent Jewelers, man. Crescent Jewelers, they always look out for me. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm starting to become a somewhat of a cornerstone in Atlanta. And I'm just looking to do the same. Like I said, I'm originally from Oklahoma, so I'm just looking
yeah.
to set a foundation in both places. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll receive two keys to the city. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
That's a dream, or somewhat a dream or and goal of mine. To put on for both places I've lived my damn near my entire life. I've been back and forth since I was 6 years old.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, like you had, fights in both cities here, so far in your pro career. But yeah, you would like
Yep.
to represent, both cities right there, man. Of course, you got the whole thing with the Oklahoma City, of course, the Thunder there winning the NBA title and stuff like that, man. And
Exactly.
so you want to see about getting a fight out there, so the people out there in Oklahoma City would support you there in their stadium right there. So that would be a big thing there. You'll be able to have a big fight there in Oklahoma City and a big fight in Atlanta.
Yeah, for sure. And then it'll happen. Everything, all the connections, all the right connections are being made. People know about me. People have been knowing about me. It's just more so about continuing to be, put myself in the spotlight, and obviously continuing to win, most importantly.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt, man. He said like, all right, you got a question from the captain here. He says, think you could bring more eyes to OTX, or you feel like maybe you could consider making a move to the top networks out there, or fighting in like say for example there for like Amazon Prime, or if they got something for Netflix, or of course here you got the Turkey thing going down with Ring Magazine, be part of that or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like honestly, I've already been bringing a lot of eyes to OTX. I mean, if you actually watch all my fights that I've had, I'm the only one who's damn near knocked out every opponent. Or I mean, honestly, I am the only fighter who's damn near knocked out every opponent. I mean, I know my last fight didn't necessarily result in a knockout, but it should have. That fourth round body shot that I hit dude with, that was a 15-second count. But they called it a low blow or whatever, even though obviously it wasn't. So that would have been the fight right there. But so it is what it is. But
Oh
it's still
man,
it's still the same, the same regard. I'm dropping and hurting everybody that I fight, and
right, yeah,
I've been the only fighter to do so. So as far as that, I mean, yeah, I believe I've already been doing so. But once my contract does expire, of course, like, I have a very very tight knit relationship with my promotion. So you know, I'm actually co-promoted between OTX and then Viva Promotions. Sean Gibbons and Sean and Brendan Gibbons or whatever. So um, the best plan of action will be made, so that I'll be compensated fairly for my progression and accolades that I've achieved thus far, and I'll continue to move forward. So and I'm sure that you know, even if it just depends how things go. I mean, they
right,
could be a part of it, and even if they're not, I'm sure that they'll be supportive along the way on whatever regard that I decide to eventually settle on. So it just whatever makes the most sense. Ultimately, I have to put myself first. This is a lone sport, so I have to put myself and my children first, and then go from there.
yeah. Got Jaime Alvarado. I think you was looking up your amateur record there on the box rec. It says a widest box rec have you with 10 wins and 8 losses on the amateur joint.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, maybe. I mean, I guess those are all my what you call it, national title. I mean, national tournament losses. I guess. Yeah. I mean,
Hmm.
I fought a lot of top guys. I've really honestly, like, people, and that's another thing people don't know about me for real. Like, I was kind of, I'm not gonna say like extra late. Like, I started the amateur at the starting age of 8, but I would only fight in the summertime whenever I would come visit my dad, and I would have a fight every summer. And then eventually, when I got old enough, I came down from high school. I started high school here in Oklahoma. I did my freshman and sophomore year, and I didn't box full time. I boxed seldom until at the end of my sophomore year. That was when I actually made the commitment to box full time. And then within that span of time between my junior and senior year, I started to produce even that much more. To whereas I probably fought in about four or five national titles, and I ended up making the Olympic trials. And I fought a lot of good fighters. You know what I'm saying? I've been in the ring with Hector Tanayara. I beat Rolly Romero to make the Olympic trials. I fought with one of my homeboys, Malik Montgomery. We fought to a split decision. I fought and beat Bruce Carrington. I lost to Bruce Carrington as well in the Olympic trials. Um, it's in the name. The list goes on. So, like, I've been in the ring with the best of them before, in the amateurs, and me and Bruce, like I said, he's an actual friend of mine. So we,
Yeah.
I believe I've told you that before. So,
Yep.
me and him, we're looking forward to eventually settling that 1-1. When time permits, because we actually have a lot of respect for each other. So
Yep.
whenever that fight does come to fruition, we just both want to make sure we both get our just due as far as financial return and
Exactly.
uh, and everything else that comes with it. So.
Notoriety, yeah, and that's something right there, because man, you got your fight there, of course, Friday, July 25th in Atlanta, and then the next day, July 26th, he got his fight over at the theater at Madison Square Garden. So you got them two fights going down, and he's supposed to be I think he's supposed to be there for the WBC interim title there at featherweight. So I mean, you got a lot going on there, between y'all two there in the featherweight division, man. And yeah, eventually, once y'all clear everything out at 126, then yeah, y'all could go ahead and scrap it up for, hey, I would say, the undisputed titles there or something. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, man. So that's it, man. Once again, I'm just waiting, man. I'm waiting on my shot. Like I said, and they ain't trying to give it to me, so I got to take it.
Yeah, got to take it. Like you said, like you were mentioning before, like you said, working with OTX or working with, what is it, like Sean Gibbons and them to kind of like put you in the right position so that this time around once you're there at featherweight, you could get yourself in that ranking. And I don't know, man. Like I'll make some phone calls, man. I don't know what it'll take. I'll make some phone calls to these sanctioning bodies to get you up in the rankings. And let's say, hey, there won't be no way that these other fighters could, like get away from these fights. You know what I mean? So hey, maybe we have to do some work on the political side to make that happen too. So that's what you got on that front, man.
Well, most definitely. I mean, that seems like what's been one of the biggest things about it. It just seems like a lot of these guys who are getting these opportunities, they have they're with the bigger promotions and they have the bigger connections, and
Mm-hmm.
so they're finding ways to try to go over me or whatever. But end of the day, like I said, it won't last. I'm coming. I'm hunting for everybody. They gonna have to see me. It's inevitable because you're I like no ain't like nobody gonna beat me. So I'm gonna stay right there in their face until they have no choice but to face me. And me, I be talking. I'm a shit talker, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep popping it over and over again. And they ain't gonna have no choice but to eventually see me.
Word. No doubt, no doubt, man. So that's the thing, man. You're gonna be definitely showing up and showing out in action there for OTX 15 against Michael Dasmarinas. That's right. That's going to be Friday, July 25th in Atlanta, Georgia. It's going to be shown live on the zone, so y'all can watch it live on the zone there. Of course, the Wolf is on the hunt. The hunt continues there with Elijah Pierce now going to be competing in the featherweight division. So we're definitely looking forward to it. And just big thanks here for taking the time to chop it up with the Boxing Source. Of course, you're there with your family there. Shout out to your dad. There with your family there with you, man. And definitely going to be catching you out there in action in Atlanta in 2 weeks.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, my father, he's right here. So if there's any questions you want to ask him directly, before we jump off, whatever, feel free to ask.
All right. So I got one question for him. Because big thanks here, for chopping it up with the Boxing Source, and like I said, you've seen the journey there with your son. And he's been doing this thing here, like ever since, like you said, 8 years old. So, like, what have you seen from him in particular, going through the journey of being an amateur fighter now in the professional ranks?
So when you say that, what am I seeing as far as his boxing, his mental?
His
What do
mental,
you?
his mental.
Of course, he's matured in the game. Um, it was a little tough for him because, like he had told you, he only come down in the summertime, and so he would play other sports, football and different things, and then he would come down in the summer to box. So I think, in my opinion, it kind of retarded his learning, where it slowed it down. If he would have been living with me all time, full time, I think he'd be a world champion right now. But it kind of slowed the process down, and so he's still playing catch up when everybody else has maximized their potential. He's still playing catch up, and that's the difference that I see.
Word, because like you were talking about, when he's there for the summer, like you only had like a few months to get
There
him,
you go.
cleared and everything like that, right? And then
Exactly.
even with that, like you'll have them like for like say the first 2 months to do the boxing, right? But
Right.
then you're gonna have to get them ready for the next school year. So you would have to wind down like a couple of weeks before you will probably want to say, "Hey, I want to do some more work," but you're gonna have to wind down because you got to get them prepared for the next school year, for example. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
so now you got it for the full year, 365 boxing and nothing else. So that's the thing about it. And like you said, it's about catching up because
Right.
all that time you had there in the past that you weren't necessarily able to properly work and you get all of that training in. Now you could do it right here, right now.
Right. You got it exactly what I'm trying to say. So I think he's still in a position where he's still obtaining information and still uh, setting the fact of the boundaries that he want to be in, where he wants to go, where he don't want to go,
Hmm.
with boxing or whatever. And I think that he's gonna turn out to be a world champion for sure. Uh, I don't see it being any other way. Uh, he's strong, he's smart, and like I said, he's still young in the game, even though he's been doing it for as long as he's done. So I constantly see growth, and so he hasn't maxed out yet, and I think you're going to see that, and I think that's why the maybe the losses kind of came early because we were still working out some niches. Um, you know,
Hmm.
I wasn't, I, I was a fighter, but I wasn't really in tune to be just high level boxers. So I struggled with some things, and there were some things that I didn't know. So as I was teaching him, I was learning myself.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't like that I had these great people around me to know what was the right way, what was the wrong way, what was the best way. I had to figure this stuff. It's just been me and him. I
Hmm.
had to figure this stuff out on my own, and some of it, it was costly. It was some costly mistakes, but we've made it through. We made it through.
Word. Like you said, putting the time in, putting the work in, and making sure that he's locked in and focused here. And now you see like he's had this winning streak here and going to continue this winning streak on July 25th. Now, I've had like multiple conversations here with the Wolf, and you said like he's multi-talented. It ain't just about boxing. He's been doing a thing there, sports, acting, singing, or whatever it is, right? All right, so
Yeah.
outside of boxing, what would you say is the talent that he has that stands out that you'd be like, man, if he did this, oh man, what I mean? Like, of course, he's doing this thing with boxing, but if you saw something from him that you were like, hey, if you were there with the acting too, or something that you said like, man, he's really good at this also. What was there anything else that you say from brother Elijah that he did, like whether it was sports or acting or playing an instrument that you kind of said, hey, he's really good at this too.
Well, he was really good in basketball. He was really quick. And he could steal the ball from anybody. He was really good in basketball. But we had a talk, and that's when I told him it'd be better for him to box because I said, look, if you look at me, I'm not very tall. I'm 5'8", 5'9", um, and you're gonna take after me, so you're not gonna get very tall. And so if you don't got no amazing jumping abilities or whatever, uh, you're gonna kind of be outclassed, even though you can dribble really well because he was a
Hmm.
really good dribbler. Um, and I think that it would probably be better for you to box because you'll always fight somebody your same size, same stature. You would have to be, you're 5'8", 5'9", and so this guy he's 6'7", 6'8", 6'5", whatever. That's just really really hard to compensate for, and
Hmm.
um, and then he's kind of reminds me of me because I'm kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. I box, I kickbox. I was a state champion in wrestling when I was in high school. Um, Went in the military. I was a firefighter in the Air Force. Then I switched over to the Army and became a drill sergeant. And
Mm.
so I've done so many different things, and I see the same kind of fascination in him. There's nothing that he can't do if he puts his mind to it. And so to say there's anything that stand out. There's a lot of things that stand out. You'd have us create another podcast for me to tell you that.
But maybe
Yeah,
maybe we'll schedule another one. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
We'll see when the
There
schedule
you
is.
go. You'd have to schedule another one. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. He does a lot. And one of the things that I'm really proud of him, he's a really great father. I see his fatherhood. It is very strong with his daughter, the attentiveness that he has for her, and that's something that can't be looked over. He's a great father, even with his new son that he has right now. Um, so I think they're going to benefit from that. Um, the world is really tough to see the father roles being really played
Hmm.
the way that they should, or people don't give kudos to the father, and as that as though they're not that important, but they really are. You know,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Like
So anyway, those are the things that I see in him that are really really strong, and I appreciate the most.
word, no doubt, no doubt. As it was said, sometime I heard this from someone. It said like it's one thing to be a dad, but it's a completely different thing to be a father. And
Right.
having that presence there and staying and sticking with, like you said there with your son, and now seeing your son doing that with his daughter and his son, it's completely great experience to see that. And now you see him, developing, as a fighter and as a father there, over the years here with this. And,
Right.
you talk about his multitude of talents and there being in basketball. I know the thing there, you're talking about the thing with the hype man, but, back in, when I was, what I'd say about 9 or 10 years old, around that time, man, we had like, Spud Webb or something like that. Like he could have been Spud Webb if he had some hops, you know what I mean? So it could have been like that. But going into the whole thing with the boxing, now you see here what Elijah is doing, and now
You
he's
getting cut out.
who steps here from being the world champ. Feel me? You back with me? Yeah, hold up. Yeah, hold up. You still hear me?
Okay, yeah, there you go. Yeah, cut out for a second.
Oh yeah. I was saying yeah, like now you're pretty much like a couple steps away there from being a world champ there. So just seeing your brother Elijah here in that journey and things like that, that's a great experience that you're there, being there as a father to him. And now you see, as I was mentioning, with Elijah having daughter and a son, you see that he's doing the things that he was able to learn from you along the way over the years there on that.
Yes,
You know what I
yes,
mean?
yes,
So
yes.
there you go.
And I really appreciate it because he does tell me that. He said, Dad, I'm mimicking and doing a lot of things that you done to me, and I'm feeding it over. So which makes me feel proud myself, that I was able to give him that good example. And I told him he's the only man with my other son too that I will allow to do better than me and be better than me, or I'll admit that's better than me.
Hey,
So yeah,
sometimes I'll be like, it's one thing to be the standard, but you were like the standard, for him, brother Elijah, and now with him, now it's time for him to surpass the standard. I guess what you
right,
saying there with
right,
that.
right,
So
and
there
I'm
you
okay with it.
go.
If it was anybody else, I'd be like, nah.
Nah, I ain't gonna allow that. Nope, nope,
Right, right.
nah.
Yeah,
Word,
so it's
word,
all
word.
good. It's all good.
Yeah, got you, man. Got you. So, I mean, you see there with y'all relationship, you see how that's been developing, over the years of y'all lives, and then you see it now come to fruition, and see what brother Elijah is doing here. So, definitely looking forward to seeing this, kind of that process continuing to grow here, coming up for July 25th, as Elijah Pierce is stepping in the ring there against Michael Dasmarinas. That's going to be OTX 15 live on the zone, man. So big shout out to you. Big shout out to the father there. And, like I said, we're going to be catching you in action here in a few weeks.
Oh yeah, we appreciate it, man. And lastly, I think that like people there, they're gonna see kind of a lot more of the dynamic of me and my dad's relationship, as time moves forward, and I kind of step into more of that spotlight role as well, and it'll be a little something different that I feel like maybe that will be a little more inspirational to other people as well. Like, don't get me wrong, like, we got the Bill Haney's, we got the those types of coaches who are more like, we got
Mm-hmm.
the obviously Schofield Senior,
Go Phil Senior, yeah, back in
got
the day, Angel Garcia, you know what
yeah,
I
Angel,
mean?
exactly. We had those fathers who are kind of a little bit more like um
Outgoing,
Brad, yeah, brash,
yeah,
and kind they
Brash,
speak a
yeah,
lot and kind of
yeah.
speak for their sons and stuff like that. But not I don't really necessarily need my father to. I don't need him to speak for me, but because of the nature of our relationship and how close we are, showing people another insight to the father-son relationship and how together we're able to inspire and showcase basically like for fathers being in their sons' lives or just children's
Mm-hmm.
lives in general, what it can do and how it can produce, just a better future, a better relationship between other father and son relationships, and just so on and forth, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that to me that's kind of like important, and we've had conversations about that as well. So
Word, no doubt, no doubt. Like I said, that's part of the ongoing, development and building that relationship there, man. So definitely great to see that. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
that's why, like give props to you, give props to your dad on that front, man. So definitely want to see more of that here in the future. So definitely looking forward to seeing what's going down there for July 25th and 8th. Y'all gotta follow Elijah Pierce, man. Follow Elijah Pierce on Instagram. He's on Twitter as well, man. So y'all can see the hunt continuing there on social media there. So that's what we got here. Big thanks once again for chopping it up with the boxing source, and definitely looking forward to July 25th.
absolutely, bro. It's always a pleasure, man. Till next time.
Yeah, no doubt, my dude.
All right, man. Take care.